viewers, hope you're having a monstrously awesome day. So it is day 4 of the Halloween activity thing. I should have done 2 more days till Halloween, but no, I decided to be different and mess everyone up and myself. But anyways, so this video is where I'm going to be reading some Halloween stories that I found online, just, you know, since Halloween's the next day. So let's get ready to read some. Alright, let's go. Okay, so the first we're gonna read is some Halloween tales. Now this Halloween tales has like multiple ones, like the abandoned factory, the bus driver, the cinema, Garlands, the black diamonds, and the man in the mask, mass murder, and trick gone wrong. Actually, I'm not gonna read the trick gone wrong because that one says Halloween story instead of Halloween tales, so that's a different thing. Alright, let's go with the abandoned factory. Here we go. 4 girls were walking home from a Halloween party in 2002. They were walking in an old abandoned factory that stood next to a field. The factory was said to be haunted, and many people in the area refused to set foot inside the factory grounds. When they got in the middle of the field, one of the girls said, "Would it be fun to explore the old factory?" The other girls were scared at first, but eventually one of them agreed to do it just for fun so they could tell their friends at school about it. 2 of the girls climbed over the fence and the other 2 girls waited outside for them. But after 20 minutes had passed, the 2 remaining girls started getting worried. Suddenly they heard blood-curdling screams coming from inside the old factory. It sounded like their friends. Terrified, the 2 girls ran all the way home. The 2 girls who went into the factory were never seen again. Today the factory still stands. They say that if you dare to enter the grounds on Halloween night, then you too will vanish, never to be seen again. Dun dun dun. Alright, so let's not go into factories anymore. Let's do the bus driver. On a dark Halloween night in 2003, a bus driver was traveling down a deserted street when he saw a beautiful young woman at the side of the road. Hello! He halted at the bus stop and she climbed on board. The woman took a seat at the back of the bus and stared straight ahead. It's kind of creepy a bit, but okay. When the bus driver looked into his mirror, he noticed that the woman was staring directly at him, never blinking. That gets me to think, can someone do like a staring contest without blinking for like a while? Because I know I can't. And my eyes can only stay open for like a minimum of time, you know? Anyways, the bus driver began to get really creeped out. He couldn't understand what was going on. Then he came to the end of this route. It was the last stop and he pulled open the doors of the bus. The woman didn't get out. She just sat there, motionless, with her back to him. The driver walked towards the back of the bus and saw that the woman was covering her face with her hands. He tried talking to her, but she wouldn't answer. He took hold of her arms and tried to make her show her face. The woman refused and struggled out of his grip. Finally, she spoke. "You will not like what you see." And suddenly she dropped her hands and turned. Her face was horribly disfigured. Lumps of flesh were falling off and her skeleton face could be seen beneath. Oh, that's just scary, like on a Halloween night. It is said that they found the bus driver the next morning lying unconscious outside the bus. He spent 2 weeks in a coma, and when he awoke, he had lost all control of his senses. Then they put him in a mental intuition, and this is the story he told from his cell. Okay then. So let's do one more Halloween tale, and then we'll move on to the other ones that I found on scaryforkids.com. So this one's called Cemetery Garlands. So, Cemetery Garlands. It was Halloween night in 2004, and a young boy was being picked on by his brother and some older kids from school. They dared the young boy to go into the graveyard at midnight with a bunch of garlands and place one on each of the gravestones. Not wanting them to think he was a coward, the young boy accepted the challenge. Don't do any peer pressure, kids. Even if you want them to think you're strong or you're brave, don't do it if you don't want to and you're scared. Alright, let's continue. It was a moonless night and the inside of a cemetery was black, pitch black. Well, what do you expect? Anyways, the rusty gates of the cemetery opened with a creak, and the boy cautiously entered. He looks at his watch. It was midnight, the witching hour. Clutching the garlands tightly, he made his way to the middle of the graveyard. He was shaking with fear, but he tried to steady his nerves. He was afraid that if he returned without completing the task, the older boys would laugh at him. Oh, it's okay. Moving slowly through the cemetery, he got the distant feeling that someone or something was watching him. Finally, he managed to place each garland on a gravestone, and his task was complete. Well, that's all of them, he whispered to himself. Just then he felt a cold hand on his shoulder as a voice hissed, "You forgot mine." Okay, that's the Halloween Tales. Let's move on. This one is a Halloween candy. So at the beginning it says, Halloween candy is a scary Halloween story about some kids who come trick-or-treating on Halloween night. Kind of good. And then there's like this little picture that says, evil needs candy too. Oh, it's so cute. Okay, here we go. Last night I was waiting at my front door giving out Halloween candy to trick-or-treaters all evening. Some children came along, some were with parents. When they held out their bags, I happily dropped the sweets and treats. Isn't sweets and treats the same thing? But okay. I don't know. Now I need to look it up. When they held their bags, I happily dropped the treats and sweets inside. As it grew dark, things started to die down. When it seemed like nobody else was going to come, I decided to call it a night. I was just about to turn my porch light off and go to bed when there was a knock on my door. It seemed much too late for children to still be out, but I grabbed a handful of candy and opened my door. There were two children standing on my porch, but they weren't wearing costumes. They were the strangest children I have ever seen in my life. Their skin was waxy and ghostly white. Their eyes were completely black. The teeth were jagged and too big to fit in their mouths. The entire look was more disturbing than anything I had ever seen. But their clothes were just plain, original shirts and pants. Confused, I asked them, "What are you supposed to be, some kind of monster?" "No," said the children as their mouths widened into bored, leering grins. I don't know what that looks like. Is it like, I don't know. Tonight we're dressed as humans. Suddenly, with a chilling sense of impending doom, I slammed the door and locked it tight. Through the peephole, I could see the two strange trick-or-treaters standing outside the door, motionless. When they began pounding on the door and telling me to let them in, the door shook and it seemed like it was about to fall off the hinge. Then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. When I looked through the peephole, they were gone. The street outside was empty. I don't know about you, but this Halloween, I won't be opening the door for anyone. Okay. So I'm just going to read one more story. I had two more planned, but then I'm like, that's a lot of reading. I love reading, but like, nah, we're just going to do one more. Okay, this one's called Tap, Tap, Tap. The description says, Tap, Tap, Tap is a scary Halloween story about a group of school children, a secret knock, and a crazed murderer on the loose. Okay. I should change my voice for this. Here we go. I'd like to tell you a story about something terrible that happened on Halloween. The story is true, so they say, and it made my hair stand on end just to hear it. It all happened many years ago in my town, which at that time was just a little town between the mountains of Catalonia, Spain. If I did not pronounce that name right, I'm sorry. The town was little more than a small square with a church, a park, a prison, and a school, with all the houses clustered around. The town was very proud of their school since it had been voted the best school in the province. It was the morning of October 31st, Halloween, and a class of students were doing arts and crafts in their classroom. Some were cutting skeletons out of sheets of paper, some were painting vampire bats, and others were drawing pumpkins. The students were all aged between 8 and 9 years old. The teacher was a beautiful young woman who had only been working at the school for 1 month. While the children were having fun preparing the Halloween decorations, the teacher turned on the radio to listen to the weather forecast. She was planning to organize an outdoor Halloween party for the kids later that day and wanted to be sure it wouldn't rain. Suddenly, the weather forecast was interrupted by a news bulletin.
There is an important announcement. A convicted murderer has escaped from the local prison and is on the loose. He is described as armed and very dangerous. Please do not attempt to apprehend him. The police will.
The teacher rushed over across the room and switched off the radio. She did not want to alarm the children, but it was too late. The children had all heard the broadcast and were frightened by the news. They knew that the prison was very near the school. The teacher tried to reassure them and told them not to worry. A few minutes later, the school principal made announcements over the PA.
Attention all teachers, we have been informed that police are dealing with a very situation that is occurring right now in the town. All teachers are advised to lock the doors and windows of their classrooms until the police get the situation under control. I repeat,
That's hurting my voice.
I repeat, lock all doors and windows until further instruction. That is all.
Oh my god, that hurt my voice. Okay. The teacher told the class to stay calm. She took out her key and locked the classroom door. When she went around and closed every window, making sure that they were secure and nobody could get in. One little girl raised her hand and asked if she could go to the bathroom. The teacher didn't want to let her go, but the girl insisted. The teacher finally allowed and gave her permission to go to the toilet. After all, it was unlikely the murderer would come to the school. She told the girl that when she came back, she would have to give a secret knock at the classroom door. When they would know that it was her and that they could let her back in, the code was 3 taps and 2 scratches. Tap, 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 scratch, scratch. The girl left to go to the bathroom, and the girl locked the door behind her to take the children's minds off the scary situation. She started telling stories like I'm doing right now. After 20 minutes had passed, the girl still had not returned, and the teacher began to worry. What's taking her so long? She wondered out loud. Suddenly they heard footsteps in the hall. Everybody in the classroom froze. Then they heard the noise at the door. Tap, tap, tap. Scratch, scratch. She's back, sighed the teacher in relief. She walked over, took out her key. What if it's not her? Asked one little boy who was shivering in fright. The teacher hesitated, her key inches from the lock. Again, they heard a noise at the door. Tap, tap, tap. Scratch, scratch. It must be her, said the teacher. She put the key in the door and unlocked it. Suddenly, the classroom door burst open and a tall man was standing there. In his right hand, he was holding a knife, and in his left hand, he was holding the little girl's head. Okay, so that was some horror and Halloween stories. Since Halloween's coming up the next day. Yeah. Okay, so that was the end of me just telling these stories in different voices, and now it is strained my voice. Okay. I know it was probably pretty boring watching this, but I had fun reading it, like doing these different voices. I love reading and like acting like I'm in different characters. But anyways, I know it was probably was boring, but that's because I need to calm things down until the next video, which is the fifth one. And that's coming out on Halloween, and that one's like a big one. So I just thought maybe I should just calm it down, But that's all I can say for now. So hope you guys had a monstrously awesome time. See you in the next video. Bye.